This is Terry Escobar at Santa Clara University, and you are watching Excel, creating a pivot chart. Use a pivot chart report to visualize summary data from a pivot table and to easily see comparisons, patterns, and trends, just like any other chart. Let's look at our workbook. In our workbook, we had calculated the highest sales in a pivot table from the worksheet Sales. So we took the sales rep field and the sales field and created a pivot table called highest sales, where we sorted the sales in descending order. With our cursor anywhere in the pivot table, it's easy to go to the Analyze ribbon in your pivot table tools and create a chart. Now this is not just a chart, it's a pivot chart. First you want to select the chart type. So I'm going to select a pie chart. I think that will display my data well. And OK. Now that I have a chart embedded on this worksheet, I can see that it is reflecting the data in the pivot table. It's the sum of sales by sales rep in the legend. And now with the chart selected, I have all of my tools available to me. And just like any other chart, you have access to the pivot chart tools, design options, where you can manage and manipulate chart elements, access quick layouts, change the color of your chart, or apply a special chart style. This should feel identical to a regular chart ribbon. A pivot chart works just like any other kind of chart, with one exception. Just like you can filter data in a pivot table, you can also filter data in a pivot chart. So let's look at this. As I'm looking at my data, I notice that Joe and Joseph Marks have very low sales. And I realize there's been an error made in my data. Joe and Joseph are the exact same person. So how do we fix this? I'm going to go back to sales, and I'm going to strategically highlight the sales rep column and do a find and replace. Find and replace what? Joe Marks. Replace him with Joseph Marks. And replace all. Before I hit replace all, I might want to do a find all, just to make sure I'm not caught by any surprises. Yep, there's 3 Joe Marks. I will replace them all with Joseph Marks. And say OK. Now when I go back to my chart, remember that's highest sales, nothing's been fixed here. That's because you have to get used to going to your Analyze ribbon under your pivot table tools and refreshing your data. Now we have fixed Joe and Joseph Marks and merged those two records together. I also notice now that Sandy has the lowest sales. So if Sandy has the lowest sales, I might also be privy to the information that she's left the company. So maybe I just want to get rid of her in my analysis. So I can click on the drop down and uncheck Sandy. So she's no longer showing up in my pivot table or my pivot chart. So just remember these are linked together. Thank you for watching Excel, creating a pivot chart.